and one-ish, and we're live. See, there you go, fixing your hair. And then you always talk about me.
That's
Get
why
it?
I stopped. That's why I stopped. See, right on time. As soon as you went live, I was done. Good afternoon.
Well, fantastic. Well, we are live once again. Hello, every beautiful body out there. For those who are not familiar, my name is Blair G. Hervey. I'm the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. As always, I'm joined by my colorful, I need to start saying like my stylish. I mean, you're giving us all kinds of looks, always. But I'm joined by my colorful co-host, bestie and soul friend of over 20 years, D'Angelo Crane. Hi, D.
Hello, Blair Hervey. You give looks too. I just give whatever I can throw on in 5 minutes. I literally had to get dressed, transitioning from my daytime life to my other daytime life, my third, fourth job. So this is what was ready and could be shaken. You ever have those clothes that you gotta shake real quick and make sure the wrinkles come out? I don't know.
Listen,
Maybe
you
that's
know,
just
I've been on my Walmart gear and it doesn't have any wrinkles. I just get it out the dryer. We're good to go.
Oh, you were oh. Women are so lucky because men can't just wear a random shirt out the dryer. It would just look a hot mess.
I don't know about that, Miguel. You'll have to chime in on that. Welcome to the Black DEIBA Collective. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being here.
No problem. Well, we got the energy going. Well, D, I feel like this garment up top calls for a shout out. I know every piece of clothing in your closet. I feel like I've never seen this.
Oh,
Is
this is probably about 6 or 7 years old. I'm pictured in it several different places. It's a
okay.
rerun from throwback. But needless to say, here we are. And you have on Walmart. I have on ASOS. That's my brand of choice.
Right. Well, it's oldie but goodie. Well, speaking of oldie but goodies, let's go ahead and bring in one of our new oldie but goodies. We're into our week 3, but my favorite part of the initial part of the conversation, our art of the check-in segment. You want to kick us off, Dee?
Of course, we do this every day here on the Black DEIBA Collective. We do the art of the check-in where we go deeper and check in on how everyone's feeling because that is what we're asking leaders to do every day is not to just ask those service level questions on how's work going, but to go a little bit deeper beyond this, deeper than beyond the surface of what's going on with your employees each and every day. So Miguel, we're going to start with you. How you feeling? How's your heart? How's your mind? How's your soul?
Yeah. My heart is doing pretty well. It's pretty warm at the moment. My mind is a little scattered because I'm currently, besides full-time work, I'm also a full-time student, grad student. And so I'm close to finishing my thesis and I have like 2 weeks left. So my heart is good, but my mind is pretty filled with a lot of thoughts. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's impressive. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That is amazing. That's awesome. Yes, that sounds like a full plate for sure.
Yeah.
And Blair, how are you feeling today? How's your heart? How's your mind? How's your soul today?
You might want to ask me how my edges are. I think I did a good job. I swooped it a little bit because these braids are tight. But I am doing great. I'm so much better than yesterday. So again, I appreciate the fuel that I received from you, as well as from Dr. O'Neill, and the fuel that we'll receive from Miguel and everyone out there. So I'm feeling fantastic. How are you doing, Dee?
I'm gonna be very honest. I am exhausted, so I'm trying to booster up my energy for the show today because I'm excited about talking to Miguel. But I'm working lots of hours this week for the next 2 weeks on big projects. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like exhausted, but I'm also feeling very still very passionate about the work that we're doing. So can those two things exist at the same time? I think they can, but baby. Sometimes you just really forget it. So, but I'm here, I'm present, I'm ready for engaging conversation for sure.
I love that. You work a 9 to 5, a 5 to 9, and then do you get some sleep in there from 9 to something? Because I know you like to watch your TV.
No, it's not a lot. Like I fall asleep watching TV and then I get up. Like every day this week, I was up at 5 a.m. So my 5 to 9 is my 9 to 5 is more like 5 to 5.
Okay. You know what they say. We're going to send you some thoughts and prayers.
I receive it. I receive it. I receive the energy. I receive it.
I hope you get some good lunch or you have a good dinner and you get some good rest as well. And I'm sure Miguel will have some tips for you on how to balance all of the things that we do. So let's definitely welcome him, Miguel has been dedicated to DEI initiatives, ensuring that we are critically analyzing the systems affecting people and providing genuine support, actively working on engaging and connecting our communities in dialogue, action, and resources. I love that. I think that's a good alliteration for us. DAR. He works on dismantling oppressive and systemic systems which are necessary for the liberation of all of our people. We really appreciate you and welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I could talk about this forever, but I know we have not too much time. So, but I'm still super excited to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, let's get right into it. I love to do some quick Googles on our guests, and that's some information that I found about you. But we would love for you to put the work that you do in your own words and let us know what that pivotal moment was for you actually to get into this work.
Yes. So for a lot of years, I was actually working at a local high school here in Portland, McDaniel High School, and it was a very interesting time just because I was supporting a lot of students navigating systems that I had gone through growing up as well. So I used to be undocumented. Eventually, I was DACA, and now I'm a permanent resident. But the things that my Black and Brown students were navigating, it just became more amplified for me during that time, and I started realizing that I didn't have the words to really describe those systems until I got older and through this particular role that I was working at a local high school through a nonprofit who was focused on college access for students. And eventually, as I started transitioning out of that role, in my next place of employment, currently I work at OMSI, the Museum of Science and Industry. I really wanted to make sure that it was a position that really tried to address the systemic barriers and all the different structures that prevent Black and Brown people from succeeding and thriving. And so while I transitioned from a high school context and education, and I also briefly worked in post-secondary, but now I'm in the museum field. I work in HR technically. And so it's this weird blend of having my toe in one aspect of an institution, but then on the other side, also still intimately engaged with my community and then also other communities through whether it's my own community organizing that I do separate from my day-to-day 9 to 5, as D'Angelo was talking about, but outside my 9 to 5. So that's kind of how I got into this space. And it just started feeling more and more like I needed to make sure that not only was I walking the talk with my values, but also providing that platform and opportunity for other people who look like myself or other folks that have been historically and traditionally marginalized from these systems and these institutions. So that's kind of how I got here and why this work is important to me.
Absolutely. Well, shout out to the OMSI. I had one of my first little dates there way back in the day. And it's such a cute place to go. But when I think about, again, like you said, Black and Brown students having a bridge or having some type of opportunity to go uh, explore STEM fields and STEM education, so that science, technology, engineering, and math, I love hearing that you are a liaison in doing that work as well. So thank you again.
Mhm.
Yeah, so something I do as an icebreaker that I ask people to do because it really always say don't define yourself by your title, define yourself by your purpose. And so I'm going to ask you this: you have a big title there, so tell us what you do without using your title. So yeah, tell us what you do without using your title. What is it that people go to you for? What should they look to you for? Yeah, what do you do?
I love that question because, by the way, usually when I tell people my long fancy title, they're like, but what does that mean? And then I'm like, okay, let me give you like the real explanation. So thank you for that. I would say that the main focus is really wanting to be in community with others through either relationship building or trying to explore and get creative about not only, what would it look like to work here, but also what types of programming or opportunities can we implement that can support a longer vision that is not just tied to what a general arts or science museum might look like. What could it look like if we centered Black and Brown people and communities in particular through our experiences, through our programming, all that type of stuff. So for me, not about having a seat at the table, but creating a new table, or really trying to understand what resources does this institution have that can be redirected to Black and Brown communities here in Portland and beyond. So that for me is kind of like the liaison role that I'm playing. And there's now another person in my role as well. So there's two of us. And so that opportunity for us to collaborate and go to community events and be present for their events instead of always for, for like the sake of OMSI. Like, it's about us showing up in spaces where maybe people who would never think OMSI would show up. And so, you hear things about OMSI kids and stuff like that, but what about those people? What about those communities, those Black and Brown youth who had never seen people like myself in this institution? And so being able to connect them and not only represent a different type of science person, but really like the possibilities and the creativity that we can instill are far reaching beyond just working here. So,
Yeah.
You're right. And there's so many things to do. I mean, I particularly love OMSI. And can you tell, again, for folks who are not familiar with OMSI, because I always forget what those letters stand for. What does it stand for again?
Yeah, so it's the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. And the industry part, I feel, is like the thing we need to get better at. But overall, like, we have a huge emphasis on science education, but not like in a traditional classroom setting. So something more interactive, engaging, and self-led.
Yeah, I mean, there was a Nelson Mandela exhibit not too long ago as well. It was pretty cool. It was good, and I actually saw a couple of job postings through an email group that I'm a part of. It's called Good People. So I'm not sure if you're actually in that particular. Yeah, Good People is an email distribution list for typically Black folks in Portland, and you get added to this distribution list, and we just exchange all things that are Black in Portland or opportunities. And so I did see a job posting for, I think, a learning strategist or something like that. So when I think about the outreach and the allyship, which I know Dee's going to get into this topic, I think about like real tangible things that we could do to make sure that we're leveraging our liaisons. We're making sure that you are in spaces that we're in. You're going to get us. You're going to see us, and you're going to make sure that it's not just a flag that you're waving to say, come here, but you're saying, hey, I'm going to bring you with me. So Dee, get into this topic. I know it's about outreach and partnership, but for real, to me, it's like authentic allyship. But what would you say this topic is about, D'Angelo?
I think there's 101 places that we can go with this subject, right? And I think it's a continuation of this conversation. I think we can touch on little mini topics as we talk about it today. But when I think about it in the context of what Miguel was just sharing about his role, I think about the work of one of the Black business resource groups that I work with. And so what they did was they adopted a school in Louisville, Kentucky. And over the course of 3 years, they read to that school. And what we saw, the outcomes of the part of the program is called Everyone Reads. The outcomes that we saw that literacy increase, like the reading levels increase in those schools that we had a presence in and that we were reading to those students in. And so when I think about these intentional partnerships, and Blair, you're looking at the allyship, how might we be an ally to underprivileged, underrepresented youth, right? How might we go in and really be intentional about helping them to expand their horizons, to really be more astute in their learning, but also we're creating this really robust talent pipeline because they're seeing people who look like themselves that come from this major corporation in their city, and that says, maybe I want to work there one day because this is the work that this organization is doing, right? And so when I think about those intentional outreach and partnerships, it's really about what aligns to the work that you want to do as an organization, but also what aligns to the work that you may need to do in the future as an organization, right? And what are all those things that align to that? Because when we think about literacy, it's not only understanding how to read, but how to read your medical documents, right? How to read all of those things. So I'm very excited about today's conversation because this is work that I'm very passionate about, and even the work I'm doing now is I'm asking my STEM groups that I work with every day, what type of STEM groups are you reaching out to in communities? So I'm excited about that. So glad you're here. So really tell us what has been one significant project that you've worked on that you've been really proud of, and what was the outcomes of that project?
Yeah. So here at OMSI, like, a lot of the things that we do are very collaborative. And so with that being said, I cannot take full ownership of this. This was a multifaceted collaborative effort. But I feel like during the last year, we hosted our inaugural like culturally specific community science nights. So we hosted a Black community science night, a Latin American community science night, and a Native American community science night. Now, I know that in this day and age, we're kind of like in 2023, some of this should probably have happened way earlier, and that is what it is. There's a difference between the individual, the institutional, and the society journey in terms of social justice and equity. But regardless, it was still like 3 beautiful events. And what I kind of helped through, what my role involved in this was not only reaching out to community members and community partners to try to establish, like, hey, is this an event that not only do you want to attend or participate in, but how do you want to see this night, this experience really play out? How is it going to center your cultural identity in a meaningful and non-performative way? Now, a lot of the processes, like most organizations, most institutions, they're not perfect. We're trying something new. And I'm just going to say it, OMSI is a pretty white organization. And so, there were kind of concerns about how are we going to navigate this? How is it going to land with people, et cetera. And so the role that I played is I led a couple of brainstorming sessions internally with folks that identified with each particular cultural group. And I facilitated a conversation to not only brainstorm ideas of the types of experiences that they were looking for, but once again, how did they want it to feel like? Because seeing something is different from feeling it. And so for me, the Latin American one, since I am a Latino man, I didn't want it to feel like, falling into things like stereotypes, like, oh, it's about a party. Oh, it's about these random things that people kind of sometimes take for granted that are stereotypes and assumptions. And so to have a group of people together who share a similar cultural identity, and even though they have differences in opinions, differences in how they practice their culture or heritage, we were still able to come together and create beautiful ideas. And that was replicated with the 2 other groups as well. So those events, even though they still didn't fully go the way we planned, because you can never plan for everything, overall, they were a very exciting way for us to really walk the talk. And now the next piece is how can we make sure that they continue long term, but also how can we make sure those events are not the only thing that happens? It's not one night. It needs to be every single day of the year. And so for next year, it'll be the second year, and we will have also a new night that will center the Pacific Islander and Asian American community. But the idea is that this is not stopping. This was built in partially through grant funding, but now it is integrated into our operations. And that's the thing that a lot of organizations tend to forget is you can get a grant and you can do a one-off, but that doesn't build a meaningful partnership or relationship with people. It needs to be consistent. And if you get feedback, you have to work through it, et cetera. So I would say that's been the most exciting thing recently. There's a bunch of other things we're doing, but for me, success for those was I physically was able to be in the museum. And for once in those 3 nights, I was not one of the only people of color in the museum. It was full of Black and brown people. And that is a level of success that is not always quantified. But in that moment, you could feel the raw energy. And it was something that was incredibly beautiful. So sorry that was a long answer, but that was really like one of those 3 nights were really pivotal in setting the tone for the future.
No, I think that was well said. I mean, look, I'm getting teary-eyed over here because I love museums. I love the arts. I love science. I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Portland, Oregon about 5 years ago, or the Pacific Northwest. And I used to love going to the High Museum. And they started something, I feel like it's been about 5 years or so now at this point, but it's Jazz at the High. And so when I thought about Jazz at the High, it brought together all different kinds of people. So when I think about, the things that OMSI can do, it's not just about having a Black night, right? But it's incorporating Blackness in different aspects of what we do. So I think about, that date that I was telling y'all about. I think it was maybe an OMSI after dark or like an adult prom or something like that. And you went in and there were different vendors. And I remember there were different liquor vendors, things of that nature. I'm thinking, are we reaching out to the, Abbey Creeks of the world, the Donna Stonies, Abbey Creek and Donna Stoney, they're the first Black winemakers in Oregon. Are we reaching out to Royalty Spirits, who's the first Black woman distillery owner, right? To make sure that, again, in everything we're including vendors, we're including Press Release Marketing, who's a Black woman owned social media and marketing company. So it doesn't have to be one night. It's we incorporate Blackness and different cultures and different heritages in everything we do. So talk to us about how you all, if you will, reach across the aisle or incorporate different cultures in everything that you all do.
Yeah, so this is a perfect segue into kind of like after that first inaugural suite of culturally specific nights, the events team has been doing a lot of work to, hey, what about our other events? Like you mentioned Promsy, that's a big one. But like, what would it look like if we had vendors that, were culturally specific, that were Black and brown led, who in general might not have access to this type of audience? And so in what ways could we purposely center Black and brown vendors in that way? So that's one element. Additionally, you had mentioned, the Mandela exhibit. That one, it did create some tension with some people in the community, and that is what it is. But we were very focused on, this is an experience that we want to bring to OMSI, and the extension piece, which was more localized and not like the main part, but the localized part, we worked with a lot of local Black leaders and organizations to really elevate and center Black excellence in that specific context. And so that it wasn't just the legacy of Mandela extends here to the US as well, and also to Portland. And so all the educators, all the strategists, all the people that were involved and our community partners in creating that experience is another way that we were being intentional about. It's not just bring an exhibit about Mandela. It's about bring an exhibit about Mandela so that then we can connect it to the local context and all the different things that Black Portlanders have experienced throughout years of systemic oppression and continue to. So those two examples are ways that we've been trying to shift it from just a transactional type of relationship, really making sure it's collaborative, community-centered, and a significant focus on community-led design. Of course, with institutions, not just OMSI, but other museums, they also have complicated histories. And so really wanting to not only look at our past and understand that these are things that have happened and we need to come to terms with it, and we need to not just think about it, but we need to then convert it into action. And so those two are examples of three things are examples of things that we've been really trying to commit to action.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. That's great. Where do organizations start when they're thinking about, we need to outreach, we need to create partnerships? Where's the first three things they should be doing and thinking about when they're starting to go down this route?
Yeah. I think the first one is you have to be authentic. People can see through your BS. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. So
that was not, trust me, not cursing.
But I would say number one, authenticity. People are able to see when something's transactional or something that is actually meaningful. So if you are approaching someone or a community partner or whatever about something, if your goal is to be in it with them for the long haul, say that. If you're in it to just be like, hey, there's this one-off event that we want to include you in, say that. Like, being clear with people it's a level of respect that sometimes organizations and institutions don't do. So that's number one, authenticity. The second thing is, I would say there's an element of process that needs to be honored. So whether that's making sure, like, how are people going to get paid if there's a partnership that requires payment? Is there any contracts that need to be signed? Who are the people of authority and decision making? Because sometimes what happens with partnerships is that people are like, oh, I'm going to have more authority on this decision than I thought. And then when they get to that point, they're like, oh, actually, you don't have authority over that question. So then that creates friction tension between expectations and the reality. So just making sure the process is as clear as possible. It's never going to be perfect, but as long as you stay in communication and relationship with people, you can kind of work through it. And then number 3 is longevity. So, this is what I meant. If it's just a one-off thing, just say that it's a one-off thing. But if it's a long-term partnership, just make sure that you're showing up for people, and it's not just your events, it's not just your programming. So like with OMSI, I go to events that are not completely tied to my job. And the idea there is I'm showing up because I want to show up. And I'm showing up because those communities value that I show up, not because I have an agenda to develop this long-term partnership. Sometimes I just go because I want to go and have fun and be in community. If something comes out of it, great. But if not, that's fine too. But me showing up, and then if things pop up that they are looking for, then that longevity starts to build. But it's not like in a way that I'm trying to be like sneaky or trying to be like, yeah, this is the targeted approach. It's just making sure that you're thinking also about longevity and the connection of relationship. So I would say those are the 3 things.
Dee, did you catch that?
Yes, be authentic, have process, and longevity. What is that? APL?
Yes.
So we do acronyms. We do acronyms. The APL.
Yeah, APL.
I love it.
We should do a Y in it, so it could be apply or something like that. But APL, okay,
yes. Or you mix it around, and it's the play of allyship.
The play.
Oh, you do. Yeah, okay.
Is that going to be trademarked?
He write it down. He's like, let me take that down. Oh yeah, honey. One of my mentors is all about frameworks. So I was writing that down today. I was like, what is the framework? But it's a great way for people to remember. It's a great way for people to plug in. It's a great way for people to continue to do the thing for sure. And when it comes to performative allyship, which just makes the person feel good, you create something that is everlasting. And that, like I said, that people can plug into. But I really appreciate this knowledge and some of these ideas. I do have one last quick question for you. As far as the community goes, who do you either have plans of reaching out to or working with? Because there are other, museums out there, of course, like Portland Art Museum. There's the RAC out there. There's lots of other museums I'm sure that you all can exchange ideas with. Who are you working with or plan to work with, if you can share?
Yeah. So I think one big shout out would be the Five Oaks Museum, which is on the PCC Rock Creek campus. Technically, they do a lot of great work. Their institution's smaller, so they also have a little bit more flexibility. So I would encourage anyone to really reach out to Five Oaks Museum. Additionally, I would say we already have some standing partnerships, but folks like Kairos PDX, Adelante Mujeres, Oregon Mesa, those are community groups that we've been building relationships for like years, SEI as well. So, but that takes time, and since a lot of our staff are white, they have to do the work and it's difficult. So anyways, I would say those are like some key folks that we've been working with. And I mentioned grad school earlier. For me, I'm really trying to integrate more opportunities for art, to not just have it be STEM, but have it be STEAM. And so through my program, I'm kind of exploring some ways that OMSI and, for example, PNCA, the Pacific Northwest College of Art, and a couple of other art institutions how can we bring more of an art focus, but still honoring science and STEM through this process? So those are just some that come to mind. But I would hope that at some point we can have, stronger relationships with organizations like Imagine Black. I would also say we have a standing relationship with Portland Youth Builders. Job Corps comes to mind. And so it's kind of also creating those pipelines that allow Black and Brown youth to really see themselves potentially working at a museum. Because I never thought I was going to work in a museum. Like, it was the farthest thing from my mind. And here I am. I wanted to be a math teacher, but I'm here doing HR and DEI work. So make that make sense. But those are some of the partnerships and some of the groups that we've been working with.
Well, it sounds like, that's great. It sounds like you had a calling on your life. Well, we really appreciate you. I know we're right at time. I just have a quick rapid fire question. Do you like grits? I
do, actually, but I haven't had some good grits here in Portland.
Oh, well, we'll have to come back.
I just need to find, yeah.
Well, actually, Screen Door. Screen Door has some good grits. And I'm sure there's some Black-owned restaurants. Don't y'all come for me. That's just the first restaurant that I thought of. Screen Door for good grits. All right, Dee, I know you have a good shout out for us before we wrap up.
Yeah, today I'm shouting out, and I may say her name wrong. It's spelled Hady. Hattie Mendez, who is a DEIBA practitioner who was laid off about 5 months ago. However, she has been doing some phenomenal work. She's been doing speaking engagements, and she's been sharing her story of how she's lost weight and doing speaking engagements and really doing things on her own terms since she's been laid off. And so if you're looking for someone who provides daily inspiration, please follow her on the LinkedIn. That's HADYMENDEZ. And so shout out to her and all the great work she's doing to inspire other DEIBA professionals who may have been displaced right now. All right, Blair, back to you.
Thank you, Dee. Make sure you send her the link for the form. And for anyone else who is very interested in speaking on our platform, feel free to reach out to us as well. You can reach us on Instagram, bottom right, or of course on LinkedIn. Miguel, can we also reach you on LinkedIn or anywhere else?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, we appreciate your time. We appreciate everyone out there. Please join us every day, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern for the Black DEIBA Collective. Y'all have a great day.
Bye.
Bye now.